Hello, Lulu. Guess who's coming to dinner? Guess who's coming to dinner? Welcome. I am your host, Janice Carter Miller. And today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Because this world is going to Hades in a handbasket. But this is the time we are still in the fight for our rights, our lives. Can you believe this? 40 years later, we're still fighting. Still fighting the same fight. We want to vote. Let us vote. Don't suppress the vote. So I'm telling you, November 8th, from me to you, get out to vote. Make sure you tell all your friends, all your family. You make sure that your crew votes. Get everyone out to vote. It's a necessity. Or they're going to try to turn back the hands of time. Remember that song from back in the day? If I could turn back the hands of time. No, not happening. We can't let that happen. And if that happens, it's because we did not fight hard enough. We must fight harder than we've ever fought. And a lot of times people say, you say that every election. Every election is a fight. But for Black folks, we have to fight 10 times as hard. That's why we have to be 10 times better at everything that we do. But today is Cancer Awareness Month, mainly for breast cancer. But today we're going to talk about cancer in general and preventive measures. And this whole topic came up because last week I had an impromptu phone call from out of cyberspace. She didn't know she had called me. But my girlfriend, Patricia Morris Jarman in Las Vegas, rung me up and I said, "What's going on, Miss Patricia Jarman? Welcome to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, girlfriend. How are you?"
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
I am so thrilled that we talked last week. That was like, I said, look at this, a blast from the past. You get on the
That
phone.
was meant to be. That was meant to be. Because I was calling somebody else.
I know somebody else named Janice. that was funny to me. I said, well, it was meant for us to talk because we hadn't spoken in years. It's been a while.
Decades.
Yes. Listen to you, decades. Yeah, it's been a minute. Well, I've been away from Las Vegas for 20 years almost.
Okay.
I moved away in
that's 2 decades.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, Patricia, tell the audience just who you are and how iconic you are in Las Vegas and in the fight game. Please tell us.
Well, I am a Boxing Hall of Fame, international boxing judge. I've been on 6 continents working. I've visited over 140 countries. I've done 900 fights throughout the world. And it's been a great journey. I mean, I was fortunate enough to come in the door during the 80s when boxing was popping off in Nevada like you wouldn't even believe. We had major fights almost every week.
Absolutely.
And we were truly the boxing capital of the world. And it was a great time to get into it. And I was lucky to be able to get in and endure because it's been almost 40 years.
What made you want to get into the judging aspect of the game?
It was an accident. I used to be a television reporter for Channel 13 here in Las Vegas. And I was assigned to cover the last hurrah, Larry Holmes versus Muhammad Ali, when Muhammad Ali was trying to be the first heavyweight ever to win 4 heavyweight titles. Well, that was not to be. But I'm telling you, I fell in love with the sport. I was covering this fight, and everybody was so excited. You could see the energy hovering above the heads of the crowds, and everybody believed the hype that Ali sold everybody that he was going to beat Larry Holmes. And I did an interview with Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, and Don King that went worldwide because it was the start of CNN. That's how long ago it was. And I did an interview with Ali, and it said, Ali said, nobody wants me to fight. They would send me to, all these hospitals, all these tests. They did brain scams, not brain scans, but brain scams.
Scams.
Right.
Okay.
And then I interviewed Don King, and I said, Don, I said, you work with Larry, you work with Ali. Who do you favor? He said, well, Muhammad Ali is like a brother. Larry Holmes is like a son. You have to favor the son over the brother. And then I went to Larry Holmes and I said, Larry, everybody thinks that Ali is going to beat you. And he looked at Cameron. He said, quote, ain't no way in hell Muhammad Ali is going to beat me. And he was right. It was never even a contest because Ali was a shell of himself. But he had sold everybody this bill of goods, and everybody was on that train with him that he was going to do this historical thing.
He was a master salesman. I live in Ali country, right here in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Wow.
A master
It was
salesman.
such an exciting time. And to get back to how I got into this, in the 80s, there were no women in
Right.
boxing.
Right.
There weren't even any women boxers at that time. And there certainly weren't anybody in the commentating field that looked like me. And I was told by a then, now late commissioner that over his quote unquote dead body, will a woman get on this commission? And my mother used to say, God don't like ugly. About 6 months later, he dropped dead. Okay? Wait. And that's not funny. That's
No, it's not funny.
but it's prophetic, okay?
Yes.
Because when you put stuff out there in the universe, it comes back, and sometimes it comes back in a way that you don't want it to.
Yeah.
And I never look back.
Your words have a lot to do with, like they say, when you put it in the ether, it can go one way or the other. But when it's not meant for good, it can come back. You reap what you sow, and so
Absolutely.
shall you reap.
Absolutely.
So, Patricia, we were talking, and I'm remembering just the era of Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Alexis, what's his name?
Well,
Aguayo.
well,
Woo, that boy.
fire.
Look,
You know,
I love the fight game as well.
oh my God.
Do you know how many women got into boxing during that period of time?
Because of Sugar Ray Leonard.
Kind of, sort of.
But it was
Well,
fun. Yeah.
this is what I want to segue into us talking about health, about cancer, and about screenings, and how important it is. I have seen over the past 5 years a lot of young women pass away from lack of preventive care and
Which makes
screening.
no sense in this day and age.
No,
It makes no sense.
mammograms or pap smears, and they say at a certain age, I'm still saying, check me out, on the regular. They say at a certain age, you don't have to get certain exams. But I think we have to stay on top of our own health, and in speaking of that, and we like sports and we are always rooting for a brother. So we're going to pivot from women getting screened to the men, because this prostate cancer is an epidemic with Black men. What you say?
I'm speechless because this all came to me because my husband has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. And as I began to seek information in the community and talk to various people that I know have had it, it's like everybody knows somebody that has prostate cancer, has had or has prostate cancer, but nobody is talking about it. This is called October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it should be prostate cancer awareness, colon cancer awareness. Like you said, it should just be Cancer Awareness Month.
Awareness Month. Yeah.
Because even now, in the 22nd year of the 21st century, we're still fighting the same fight. And people, like you said, are dropping dead, dying horrible deaths from cancer, and that shouldn't be. People are dying from stage 4 cancer because they don't even know they have it because they've never been screened, never had a mammogram, never had a pap smear, never had a colonoscopy. Don't go to the doctor. My husband, before we got married, I drugged him to my doctor, and I said, "You have to get checked out from the rooter to the tutor because you haven't been to the doctor in a while."
Right.
And the doctor found that my husband had this huge, called the parathyroid adenoma, which turned out to be the second largest parathyroid adenoma in the history of UCLA. It was 9 centimeters. The largest was 11. This thing looked like an alien growth, but you couldn't see it from the skin. You could only see it from the MRI. And this thing was from his jugular vein and all the way down and attached to his aorta. And the doctor said that one day he would have just dropped dead.
Wow.
So
it's something that. Do you tell me what you think is the reason why men won't go get checked out?
I'm gonna quote my husband. I'm gonna quote my husband. Every time I go to the doctor, they find something wrong. I said, that's because you don't go to the doctor but every 20 years. If you have been getting regular checkups, even if you get one every other year, at least you know what happened to you 2 years ago and they can kind of monitor it. Right. You can't not take care of yourself. You can't not be aware. You can't put your head in a hole in the ground and say it'll pass because it doesn't. And by the time you catch up with it, many times it's too late. Brothers need to wake up. And I don't just think it's just black men. I think it's black men now because that's who I've been talking to. But I would bet that there is a proliferation of prostate cancer nationwide.
Right.
Because men don't talk. They don't want to talk about their private areas. That's the whole deal. Can't nothing be wrong with my private areas. Well, yeah, it can. Yeah. And it can kill you.
And you have to bite the bullet, not really bite them, but you got to bend over. Yeah, you just got to bend over. It's a minute examination, and then it's over. But it's hard to fight something you don't know what's going on.
And the funny thing about prostate cancer is that you can have a 2, 3, or 4 PSA 1 month. And 6 months later, it'd be 9 or 10, because that's what happened to my husband. A year ago, last October, his PSA was 4 and some change. 2 months later, it was at 8. And the only reason why we knew that because he had to go for some blood work. And I said every time he goes for blood work, I say, get a PSA. That should be absolutely your normal procedure. Blood work, PSA. Well, lo and behold, it had jumped up to 8. Then it went up to 10. So now they're going, okay, something's going on. And he is subject to having kidney stones. So they thought it was the kidney stones that were causing his PSA to go up. So they blasted the kidney stones twice, and it came down 1 point each time. So now we're still at 8. And that's when the doctor said, I think we need to do a biopsy and find out what's going on. And the doctor that we went to, because I made him fire the first doctor because he was so nonchalant about my husband's health. At your age, we don't really do anything if you do find cancer. I said, next, you don't put him out to pasture. Who do you think you are?
Right.
And so we found another doctor, and who happened to be my godfather's urologist. And he took him under his wing. And when he did the biopsy, he did 48 samples. And out of that 48 samples, they found 7 cases of cancer. So we're getting ready, after we come back from our trip, we're getting ready to start that whole radiation trip. But this, as we talked, there's so many different avenues. In fact, I need to get the exact spelling of what your husband had so that I can talk to the doctor, because I couldn't find it under the way I spelled it.
I'll send it to you. It's called Provenge. Provenge. It's a blood cleansing. I think it's a miracle worker. You know,
Absolutely, absolutely.
it's something. See, they don't usually, normally, they don't tell us the things that are good for us, or try this, or try this. This research has found out if you do this, this will help. You know, they just want to tell us, just like you said, you know, at your age, we can't do anything, or
I
there's
get
nothing.
it.
And the
I
only
get
two
it.
choices you have are radiation or
Chemo
chemo
or the seed implant. They have a thing
on the
called
seed implant.
my husband initially was going to do the seed implant after we talked to the oncologist, radiologist. And when we went back to the urologist, he goes, no. He said, there's so many problems with that seed. He said, men are on their knees crying in agony because it's like somebody has poured gasoline through the urethra and lit a fire. That's how painful it was.
Who
And so
said that? The doctor?
the doctor, the urologist said that. The oncologist didn't say anything like that. But the
Okay.
urologist said, no, I don't recommend that procedure at all.
Now,
He's going to go
my
28 days.
my former boss over at KUNV at the radio station, he had a seed implant. He's no longer with us, but he had this seed implant in 2003, and he was in his late 70s then, right? He just passed. So he
Wow.
lived another 20 years almost.
Did he have problems with it?
No, he never said anything about having any problems. He got married again. He was just, it was the best thing that he said he could have done for himself.
Did he die from the prostate cancer?
I don't know exactly what he died from, Patricia. It could have been prostate cancer, or at 93, 94.
Oh, wow.
It-
Wow.
we're dealing with old age,
Yeah.
you know. So, but I'm saying to have lived another 20 years
It's
after he
amazing.
had the, is amazing. So he had a full life. That seed implant helped him live a full life. You know, sometimes you just, I don't know, so you have to step out on faith most of the time when you make decisions about your own health. And you can listen to what people say, but then you also have to do some research and reading yourself to find out what you think is going to work best for you. Because everybody, they don't tell us what they tell white folks. I don't believe they do. I had a doctor on the show one day, and he's moved here to Louisville to teach at the University of Louisville, and he's here to dissuade the myths in medicine about, especially where there is some racism involved. Black people, we can stand pain better than white people, because of the texture of our skin. Um,
That's the
we
most
don't
ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's
Huh?
ridiculous. That is
Yes,
ridiculous. You know,
yes, absolutely.
they
But you
find
know what he told me? He told me, Patricia. He said the opioid addiction. He said because the doctors thought that black people could handle pain better, that they would not prescribe the opioids to their black patients like they were prescribing them to their white patients. So in essence, they ended up saving about 30,000 black lives
wow.
by doing the reverse, and it worked to our benefit. But that's an anomaly right there. That's a 1 in a million chance that that's gonna
Right.
happen. That's
That was
just,
an accident.
yeah. They,
You
they
know,
they didn't know, any better. They didn't know it. The doctors did not know any better, because
well,
they're still practicing under those old myths about black people and the structure and the makeup of our body, like it's different.
well, I'm a former nurse, and I was a nurse in the military, and
Okay.
then I was the first head of the Commission for Hospital Patients here in Nevada, which was the first of its kind created in the country because people would come from all over the country and someone would become ill and be hospitalized here in our hospital. And then when they got back home and they got the bill from the hospital, they get ill again. And so they started, they
Yeah.
started complaining to their legislators, who in turn complained to our legislators, which caused the creation in the early 90s of this Commission for Hospital Patients. And what I did was
The commission for what did you say,
Commission
Patricia?
for Hospital Patients.
Hospital
And
patients. Okay.
the sole purpose of that was to reduce the cost of hospitalization in the state of Nevada. They now have on the books where if you don't have insurance and you go to the hospital, you get an automatic 30% discount. Automatic, if you don't have insurance. That's because of this commission. My first year in office there, we had saved over over $2 million in reduced hospital. I found all kind of errors, because I had an operating room background, and in the military, you work everything. You do everything, you work everything. When the doctor is not there, the nurses do everything. And so I had that eye, and I knew what to question. And it was just amazing the things that would get on somebody's bill, and nobody ever said anything about it. So the hospitals just kept doing it. And they knew they were doing it illegally.
Right.
They knew it. And they didn't
adding on.
Yeah, but again, if you don't have any accountability, then what's to stop you?
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, I used to do a lot of public service announcements and a lot of public speaking and a lot of teaching about being your own advocate. And in order to be your best own advocate, is that you have to do some research. You have to question. We have the best thing out here now called Google. Google is not always correct.
Google. Just ask Google.
Always correct, but Google will put you on the right track.
Right.
Okay. To ask the right questions. And I tell people, when you go in to see the doctor, you have 8 minutes. And in that 8 minutes, everything that you need to have done or said, you need to get it done there. Because once he walks out the room, more than likely he's not coming back. So what I do in my phone on the day I'm going to the doctor, I number everything I want to say. When he walks in the room, I go, hi, I got 17 things I need to answer from you for in my 8 minutes. And we go down my list.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he'll order medicine or he'll order a test based on what I said is going on with me. But I'm the exception to that rule. But everybody should be the exception to that rule. Everybody should be saying, this is what I'm noticing. I've had this pain for 2 weeks. Women will say that. Men will have a pain for 6 years and won't say anything.
Right.
A woman has a pain for 2 weeks. She wants to know what's going on.
Right.
And we've got to get men to that point where they say, you know what? This has been bothering me for a while. Let me go see what's going on. I don't like to go to the doctor. I don't like him sticking and probing and going into places where he shouldn't be going into. But I need to find out what's wrong with me. And men just don't want to do it.
It's kind of like the sign in New York. If you see something, say something.
Say something. Absolutely.
If you see something on your body that you've never seen before, or you feel something that doesn't feel right, or you're feeling different than you normally do. I mean, even in a mental capacity.
Yeah.
Because those things are now have found their way into the fiber of our lives, that mental illness thing.
Well, and particularly since COVID. Since COVID, we've had such a proliferation of mental illness. Let me tell you something. If I didn't have my husband to interact with, unfortunately for us, we had the bubble where we went into this pretty much sterilized situation. Everybody was tested 2-3 times before a fight, and you didn't interact with anybody until it was time to go home. And we stayed for a week. Had I not had that, I don't know that I would have a grip on my reality, because just having to stay home, just having to be, and I have pulmonary sarcoidosis. I've had it for over 40 years. So I'm very aware that if I catch a cold, it goes to bronchitis and pneumonia in 48 hours, pretty much. So I was staying away from everybody.
Right.
I had a mask that had 5 layers and was wearing the plastic shield for 2 solid years because I didn't want nobody breathing on me. Even now, I'm very leery about somebody getting into my personal space. Please don't breathe on me. Don't hug me. Fist bump me. Hi. But don't get up on me, because I can't afford to catch what you might not even know you have.
Right.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. You don't even know you have it.
Right. And you could give it to me and cause me my life unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't want to be social, because in the boxing world, everybody hugs everybody. I mean, everybody hugs everybody, you know. And that came to a screeching halt. It's like, hey,
When
how
they
you
say a
doing
fist bump,
over
they
there?
really mean a fist bump,
I'm
huh?
serious. Fist by elbow.
Yeah.
Just don't come up on me, because we don't know what we're dealing with still. And it looks like this whole COVID situation is going to be here forever. Just like the
Oh,
flu,
we're going to
every
have to
year
learn
we're
to
going to get
live
a
with
booster.
this. Yeah, we're going to
Every
have to
year,
learn to live with it. Let me
every
ask
year.
you something. Is Richard still around?
Yes, he is, bless his heart. He got out of refereeing and he started his own gym.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, and he even parlayed into mixed martial arts for a minute. He had Steel Cage Productions where he was
Hmm.
doing MMA, but he mostly deals with the young kids with the boxing. He works with the amateurs, and he's doing well. He's doing well.
If you see him, please tell him I said hello. You know, when I moved
Absolutely.
to when I moved to Paris, Patricia, he helped me sing the national anthem at the Michael Nunn Donald Curry fight.
What? I didn't know that.
Yes, but
What?
well, and he introduced me to the promoter that put the fight on, who was Jean Claude Boutier,
Okay.
the French champion. So he was promoting the fight on Canal Plus, and they took me to him to introduce me. It was like he was a king or something. I was like, okay. And so I said, well, I'm an American. I'm here, and I want to sing the national anthem for the fight. And he said, oh, it's okay. So Jenny, so you come to Paris? You live in Paris? I said, oui. So I had to speak a little French to him. So because if you speak a little French, then you get a little favor. So
Absolutely.
that was one of the very first things that I was able to do when I moved to Paris was to sing at that fight. I was
So
in the
when
wrong
did you move
corner.
to Paris? When did you move to Paris? I didn't know you had moved to Paris.
I moved to Paris in 1990, Pat.
What?
I stayed 5 years.
Wow. I did
It was
see.
wonderful.
We've been
It was
so out of
wonderful.
touch.
Yeah,
Oh,
Well, you were doing your thing. I was doing my thing. That was the prime of our life.
yes, it was. And
You
back
know, that
then, I was traveling 100,000 miles a year all over the
yeah,
world.
yeah.
So we might have been at the same airport at the same time and
Look,
didn't even
we
know
could
it.
have been in the same city at the same time and not
It's
know it.
called the Gaulle Airport, okay?
Well, I just wanted to bring the topic of conversation up so that wives and mothers and sisters and aunties tell your brothers and uncles and nephews, to get checked, to go get checked. I don't care how old they are, because it's not necessarily an old man's disease, would you say? The prostate cancer?
One of my dearest friends died at 53. And he was you know him, Chuck Whitaker.
Oh,
He was a
yeah.
fireman who got checked had a full physical every 6 months. The last physical before he retired, his PSA had shot up. Now, I don't know why they didn't catch it before then, but anyway, he was in stage 3. And they did the radical surgery on him, and he lasted for 4 years, but he wound up dying from it. And it was an agonizing death. And I was very angry because we were very close. I was very angry about that. I was like, I don't understand how you have a full physical every 6 months and they missed this.
But do they, if you don't ask for a PSA test, do they just automatically give you? That's
No.
not a test that's normally given.
And
You have
men
to
don't
ask
want, they
for
don't
that.
want the PSA and they don't want the digital. Okay. And I would say to my husband, okay, now you don't want me to go with you to the doctor and tell the doctor to do a digital on you. So you need to ask him to do that because sometimes you can have a low PSA. I had another friend, a colleague, who had a 3 PSA. And when the doctor did a digital, he had a walnut sized mass that was cancerous in his prostate. So you have to do both of them. And you know what? You got to say, okay, it ain't the manly thing to do, quote unquote. But it's more manly to live than to
To
die from
live
something
then
you
to
don't
die.
have to die from. I think that this should be a fraternity of men, not just black men,
Yeah.
brown men,
Just
Asian,
men.
white men,
Just
just
like women
men.
do with breast cancer.
Right. And somebody needs to take that banner and say, okay, we want research, we want better care, we want it to be mandatory that men have to get a PSA and a digital exam every year
Yeah.
because of it. Like with women, they tell you everywhere you look, you need to get a mammogram. You need to get a
Always.
mammogram. And for
Always.
some of us that have fibrocystic disease or have family histories of breast cancer, you get a mammogram and you get an ultrasound and you can get a biopsy, whatever it is you need to stay on top of this and beat it and not let it take you out of here, not unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And some
A lot of
man,
people are
somewhere,
dying unnecessarily. They're dying
yeah,
unnecessarily
yeah,
just
to
because
die,
it's preventive. All it is preventive. If you go get checked and screened, you can live.
yeah.
And that's the message that we need to get out. Women, ladies, girls, sisters,
Mothers,
mothers, come on, get them up. You gotta. Sometimes you might have to shame them into going to the doctor because
absolutely.
it's a macho thing. It's just a macho thing. That's the only thing that I can think that it is that keeps a man from going to see the doctor, knowing that, like you said, if he's got family history, if it runs in the family, or if he's feeling some kind of way, you gotta take care of yourself.
And with prostate cancer, you don't necessarily know that you have it. It
No,
doesn't, it's not symptomatic, you know.
no,
Like
not
with breast
symptomatic.
cancer, you
Right,
can feel a lump most of the time. Not all the
right.
time, but most of the time you can feel a
Most of
lump.
the time.
With
Yeah,
prostate cancer, unless the doctor does a digital, which means putting his fingers into the rectum and feeling the prostate, which is right there above the rectum, can he tell whether or not there's a mass there or not? That's
right.
the only way to tell. And then from that, you get more blood tests, and then you get biopsies and X-rays and all kinds of stuff. But they have to be able to feel that. And I can't tell. I wish I had a dollar for every time a man said to me, "Oh, I ain't doing that. I ain't
Yeah,
let nobody do that to me."
yeah.
Well, do
No,
you want to live?
say
You know,
that's not happening.
right?
Yeah,
Maybe,
you say that's not happening, but you don't want something else to happen.
do you want
You
to
want to
live?
live.
That's the
You want to
question.
live, or you want to die.
That's the question. And do you want to live and not die from something that you wouldn't necessarily die? Because they all the doctors have said, if prostate cancer is caught early, it's one of the easiest cancers to cure.
Okay.
The easiest to
The
cure
easiest cancer.
if
Yeah.
it's caught early enough, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And that means they have to do their due diligence and speak up. Like I'm telling you, I had to make my husband say, I want a PSA and a digital. Because I said, you do not want me to go there and tell your doctor. He said, okay, I got
I
it.
can
I
hear
got
you now.
it. Girl,
What?
girl, girl.
Come on. I'm going to tell you, it's been a joy just to reconnect with you. You
Absolutely.
look
This
fabulous.
cannot be the end. This cannot be the end.
No,
Okay.
no, we would do this because we're going to have some more things that we can talk about. Because I've met some wonderful, strong, progressive women in my life. And I have to say, my sister, that you are definitely one of those women because you climbed that ladder when you put your sights on being a judge in the fight game. You came out of that broadcasting and you moved right on up. You call me and you say, JC, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. I see you at Caesar's Palace. After
But
the
hang
fight.
out. But hang out.
Remember all of that. It was
It was
fabulous.
wonderful.
Just and to watch when you watch your friends excel. I'm a girlfriend kind of girl. And
I
I
know.
am proud when I see my sisters do well. And honey, you have done your thing.
Well, so have you. And
You are
thank you.
definitely top
So have
shelf.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on. Guess who's coming to dinner? It's not dinner time in Las Vegas right now, but it's dinner time over here in Kentucky.
Well, next time we have to eat and have some wine or something.
Yes, we'll do something. We'll have dinner.
Okay.
The show was to have dinner, but COVID just interrupted all of that. And
Everything.
until I can have people safely in my home at my dinner table, I'm gonna have a dinner conversation.
Yeah, this is
That's,
even better.
huh?
This is
It's
better.
what?
This
It's
is
even
better
better.
because you can get people all over the country to come and have dinner with you, and they still be at home.
Right. They
Listen,
can still be at home. It's convenient.
I love this type of interaction. I was telling the boxing commission, please don't ever have us have to go back and have a meeting in person again. Can we just
I
zoom
said,
on just
please,
for an
please
hour?
zoom us in.
Woo! Yeah,
Patricia, take care of yourself. God bless you. Stay safe. Give my best to Charles.
I will do that. I
Take
love you.
care.
Take care of yourself. Take care of your husband.
Enjoy your trip
Thank
and
you.
bon appetit.
Thank you, darling. Bon appetit to you. Love you dearly. Take
All
care.
right, sweetie. Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Patricia Jarman. She's iconic. You do you know any other women that are international boxing judges? I don't think so. She's one of a kind. There are more women, but I don't think there are many more. I think she might be the only African American woman who's an international boxing judge. And like she says, she's judged 900 fights all over the world. So we just wanted to talk about um, do a little shout out to the men to go get checked. Go get your prostate checked. Go get your colon checked. Because as you get older, these are the preventive measures that you have to do in order to live a long and full and successful life. So, on that note, it's dinner time and it's Monday. It's Monday night football. So, guess who's coming to dinner? I'm going to play this again on Friday. And I missed last Friday to play Philip Bond's conversation with me because I was otherwise engaged in some health matters. It's right up the alley where we are. So take care of yourselves. Ladies, take care of your spouses. Take care of your fella. Take care of your fiance. Take care of your man. Take care of your brother. Check on your uncle. Make them go. Check on your best friend. Make them go get checked out. They get a checkup because they're going to have to bend over. Say, bend over, Beethoven. Oh, roll over, Beethoven. Okay. Beethoven rolled over. Me and y'all have to bend over. Go get that check, that digital check, and live a life that's full. Because if you catch it early, it's easy to get rid of. If you catch it late, it can devastate your life. All right. On that note, I'm saying good night. You all have a good week. Take care of yourselves. Keep your mask on. I'm telling you.